Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to go over some tire information, tire maintenance, and just overall tips and tricks to have a better experience with your tires, if that makes any sense. So there's just some information here that I would like to go through for car owners and as well as those who are going to be buying tires. Some helpful information to keep your tires lasting longer and avoiding major repairs down the line. All right, so we'll start here with number one, alignments. So a lot of shops will recommend alignments when you do purchase 4 new tires, okay? But as long as your suspension is checking out with no loose components, then your alignment will be fine in any way. So as long as you get an inspection first, so either yearly or every 2 years on your suspension components, then you will be guaranteed to have a good alignment. So alignments usually, they should be sold only if suspension components have been replaced, but a lot of shops will recommend just to be sure to do an alignment when you buy 4 brand new tires, because if there is angles that are offset with the they don't want your brand new tires to get chewed up too quickly with these offset angles. Okay, so alignment, and especially if you have camber, so that's the angle in the front or in the rear. So front camber or rear camber. So that's something you have to address if your camber angles are way off. Some shops will not even mention that you have bad cambers, as long as the toe. So the toe is what helps you drive straight. So as long as the toe is good and is within spec, then they'll just send you off your way. So you would have to check your alignment papers to see the alignment papers that the shops are going to provide, to see both your front camber and your rear camber, to make sure they're within spec. Because if the camber is out of specs, then that's going to be an issue with your tires. You're gonna go through tires a lot quicker. So let's say the tires like this. So camber issues, they chew up the inside of the tire, where this is towards the suspension. So they chew up the inside of the tire. So what you need is bolts on the knuckle to help offset this angle and keep your tire straight. But like I said, I used to do alignments at the dealership I worked at, and if the camber angles are off, I mean, we would let the customer know, but they would never care, because they would need to purchase camber bolts and bring that to us, and then we would fix those camber angles, especially on the front ones. You could fix rear camber with the bolts. That's no problem. It's just the front camber that the customers neglect because they don't know about, and shops don't even care enough to tell the customer that, hey, you need camber bolts if you want to fix that. And when it involves an extra cost, then they don't they usually don't care, and they say, you know what, as long as it drives straight, then I'm good with that. So alignment is very important to keep your tires wearing out evenly and driving straight. All right. Next up is good brands. So invest in good brands such as Michelin and Bridgestone, Continental, and Toyo. So these are probably the best brands out there. They are a bit more expensive, but you get a good bang for your buck. These tires are gonna last really long compared to cheap ones, like any Chinese ones, like off the top of my head, I can think of the Linglongs one. Yeah, don't go buying Linglongs thinking you got a good deal. They're just really shit. So the thing with cheap tires is, they'll be probably like half the cost, but they'll be half the cost, but 1/10 of the quality. They just get used up a lot quicker, from my experience. Even if you don't have, like I said, camber issues, like I said before, the cheap tires tend to always cause camber issues or camber wear on their front tires for some reason, just because they're not made that well. They're usually more noisy as well on the highway and just driving regularly, and their traction is sometimes pretty bad, so it could affect your braking power as well if you have pretty bad Chinese tires. So always invest in, you know, high quality brands, because, you know, if the high quality brands are going to last you 40, 50, or even 60,000 kilometers, and you won't have to think about it for the next 4 or 5 years. But with cheaper tires, then you're going to pay twice the labor just to get them removed again if they end up having problems with, like I said, if they're too noisy, or the traction issue, or the camber issue, then you're gonna pay twice the labor to have them removed and reinstalled again and balanced, where you could just have invested that money in higher quality brands, and then you'll fix your problem. And I've always had great experiences with higher quality brands. They last forever. They last a really long time, and the noise is really good, traction is good, and the braking power, it doesn't really affect your braking power. So that's all positives with the good brands, and they are expensive, but it's a really good investment in your car. All right, next up we have tire rotation. So as long as you get your tire rotation, every 6 months, or at 10,000 kilometers, or a bit more, or you could even go a year. Sometimes the best thing to do is do with every oil change, do a tire rotation. So some shops will recommend that for you. If the shops don't recommend it to you, then let them know that you need a tire rotation, because the worst thing is having tires wear out unevenly. So the front of the car is where the car carries most of the weight, as well as the most of the traction is on the front of the car. So the front tires are going to be the ones taking the majority of the beating. So you want to swap out the front with the rear every 10,000 kilometers. So say your tires are going to last 40,000 kilometers. So you'll have even wear. So you'll have 4 swaps in total. Actually 3, because you're starting out with initial swap. So and that's going to ensure that both tires are all tires are going to be worn out evenly. Because the worst part is having, I've seen it many times where you do using used car inspection, and the front tires are, let's say, at 6/32, and the rear are going to be at 9. And that's how like this car owner never did any tire rotations. So now you're stuck with uneven tread life. So you're going to have to put these in the back and the 9 in the front. And then these are going to reach 3/32 sooner, and these are still going to be at 6. So you still got some good tires in the front, but then you're going to have to replace 2 in the back, and then the cycle continues. Because then if you replace 2 only, then they're going to be at 12/32 if they start, and then the front ones are going to be at 6, and it's so on. So it's always best to just follow up on your tire rotations, so you have good wear patterns. And when eventually they're due, then you're going to just buy all 4 of them and then start the cycle again. Our next up, we have low profiles. So profiles are, say this is the size of the tire, 205, 60, or 16. Okay, so profile is going to be this. So 60%, the sidewall is going to be 60% of the width. So that's the width aspect ratio. So what I've noticed a lot with low profile is they tend to have more bubbles. Okay, so bubbles is when you have a small tear inside the tire, and then the air is trying to escape through the sidewall. So you'll get that bubbling effect on the sidewall. So as long as you get, so compact cars will have 60, 55, or 60 aspect ratio, and I've seen only a few of these that have that end up getting bubbles, but most of the time the higher the aspect ratio, or the thicker the sidewall, then the less likely you're going to get a bubble. So as soon as you drop to 50 aspect ratio and below, so 45, 40, and 30, then your chances of getting bubbles, so they skyrocket, because the sidewalls are way too thin to absorb any impacts from potholes or speed bumps and so on. So when I worked at the dealership, the Kia dealership, especially the Kia Stingers were the ones, or any Optima with low profile tires, they would always come in with bubbles, and then you can't really fix bubbles. You have to replace the tire, and then we're going to go on number 5 here with the replacement. You always replace the tires in pairs, because you can't really replace one, because the tread life is going to be, you'll have 12-30 second tread life with one at 6, you know, just an example, and then 8, and then another one at 6. So you'll have 3 different tread life, and that's going to mess up your drivability and so on. So that's why if you do end up opting for low profile tires, so just be, you know, this is just a warning that you're more prone to having bubbles, okay, and sidewall tears as well. If you accidentally, you know, hit sidewalks or so on, these sidewalls are really thin, so any hit on them or any damage or any disturbances, they're gonna take a beating, okay, especially on the sports cars and so on. And already these low profile, they're harder to install, and also they cost more money to like per tire, they cost more money. So just be aware of low profile tires. All right, next up we have replacement. So when replacing, I've seen this a lot when people need to replace one tire. They'll have, you know, they'll end up with 2 brands of tires on all 4 of their wheels, and sometimes I've seen 3 brands. So just my advice is, a lot of shops will recommend this too. So if you need 1 tire, they'll recommend you to buy 2 of them, just to match the tread life as well as the drivability. If one, especially on if you're replacing only 1 tire in the front, okay, then most of the time the service manager will tell you, you know, or we know as mechanics, to put that tire in the back, because it's going to affect the front traction of the car, especially if you have one tire at, you know, brand new at 12-30 second, and the other front one at 6. Then this car, if you have these 2 in the front, then this car is going to pull for sure, just because of the traction. And especially if you're braking, then it's going to affect your braking too. You might pull even to this side if you're braking, depending on the car. So always with the replacements, they'll always recommend you to buy 2 brand new ones, and you can just keep the other one as a spare tire. Especially if you have all-wheel drive, like constant all-wheel drive cars like Subarus or Audis and so on. These are really sensitive to different size tread lives in tires. So sometimes they'll even recommend 4 tires, or 2. 2 is minimum, maximum it's going to be 4, because you're going to mess up the all-wheel drive system and so on. So they're really sensitive to the height of the tire, just because of the tread life and so on. So it could get really complicated with that. So just as a word of advice, it's just to if you're going to replace one, keep the one that you're keeping, well, the one that you're scrapping, you're going to replace it, but always replace it with 2, and the extra one you always keep as spare. Our next and last point is going to be TPMS. So if you could opt in for a car with TPMS, it's a lot better, because TPMS is going to warn you if you have low tire pressure. Okay, I believe cars that are above 2016 or 2017, they all mandated to have TPMS in their tires. So tire pressure monitoring sensor. So this is really good for the driver, because if you don't have these, then you might have a small leak somewhere in the tire, and eventually you don't know, and then the tire is slowly leaking air, and you're driving on that low air, the tire with low air, and then you're just damaging the inside sidewall. So I've seen it happen a lot of times where the customers don't have TPMS installed, and you know, by the time they find out that they have a flat tire, it's already too late. They chewed up the inside of the tire, and it's going to be a tire replacement. And like I said before, it's never 1 tire, it's always 2 tires. So TPMS save you from that trouble of having of not knowing if you have low tire pressure. So that saves you a lot of time and money for sure. All right, and that's going to be it for this short video. Okay, hope you guys find it helpful. Hope you guys find it valuable. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.